This is Kenya's biggest conversation. In the room with you this morning is Nduoko, CT Muga, and Eric Latif. We're live on Spice FM. We are live streaming the show, Spice FM KE, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we're also live on KTN Home. Those watching us on TV, a very good morning to you. This is your radio experience on TV. So, CT, let's talk about the Rotary Club.
Let's.
You know many people who are Rotarians.
I do.
And
many of the people who I know who are Rotarians have one thing in common. They have a drive and a need and a push to actually be of service to not just their neighbors, but to mankind. They want to see the lives of people better. They want to ensure that people who perhaps didn't have certain opportunities have them. They want to see that things that could be done to make their lives better are done. This is what I have seen of the people, and the projects that I have probably participated in at some level. I myself am not a member, but I have seen. And it's something that I've seen, and it's consistent. It's consistent, and by the time an organization lasts for the number of years that this organization has actually been in play, but they take it even further. They begin getting people of similar minds and get them interested at a younger age. So that you have Rotary, then you have Rotaract. Okay? Same purpose, same thinking. And in my mind, that's clear planning, because if somebody has an interest and you capture that interest at an early age, as they get older, they won't depart from that path. They will simply improve on whatever it is that they had set out to do in the first place.
so those principles of minding your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, philanthropy, working towards a better good of
those
of
who are less
community.
fortunate, to put it simply, those who are
Okay.
less fortunate, and ensuring that you look at every aspect of it, and even among themselves, they have occasions when they have meetings that are usually a lunch meeting, and they will have experts and professionals who will come and talk to them about issues that are important and things that would educate, inform, and probably even encourage the members a little more. So they don't start and stop, and they don't talk. They talk, they do, and they continue talking and doing.
Okay.
Yes.
So you hear of the very, very many Rotary clubs in the country. Rotary Club of here and there. All of them are part of the Rotary District 9212, which covers Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea. And they'll be holding the 96th annual conference from tomorrow, the 9th, up to the 10th, the Saturday. Okay. Dubbed Out of Africa Digital Extravaganza like never before. This is the second time that this conference will be bringing together about 1,000 participants across the 4 countries, and it's gonna be held virtually for the second time because, of course, of the corona pandemic. The person who is chairing this particular conference is now joining us on the line. His name is Paul Kasimu. Paul also doubles up as the Chief Human Resources Officer at Safaricom PLC. Paul, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you, and good morning.
Morning.
Now, we're just doing a bit of the introduction on the Rotary Club. The Rotary organization, the service organization, has millions of members across the globe. But let's just come into this district that you're calling the District 9212. Is it 912, 9212,
9212. 9212.
I knew that. So the conference that you're going to be holding from tomorrow and Saturday, it brings in members of the Rotary from around the region. Just tell us about that. Tell us about this organization, how this particular district then fits into the bigger Rotary organization, and how the clubs fit into the district.
First, let me demystify Rotary. And the first bit is what is Rotary? And it is an international service organization whose purpose is to bring business and professional leaders in order to promote humanitarian service. So it is you and I, people of either business or profession, who coming together, and their main call to duty is service to mankind or humanity. And there's something we say, service above self. So when we come in, I think that's a bigger piece, that it's non-political, it's non-religious, and our main focus is to ensure we have people of goodwill who advance peace around the world, but most importantly, serve humanity for lasting change. And later, I think I could talk to you about some of those areas that we serve humanity.
Sure.
We have about 1.2 million Rotarians across the world. Mm-hmm. And in our district, which is Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea, we'll have about 3,500 members, people from different professions, and they come in and say, let's do service. Now, each year, Rotarians from that district, and there are several districts across the world, come in and say, have a networking session. They bring international speakers. They share best experience in terms of what they've done in terms of serving humanity, and have fun. And in this case, then we are having the 96th conference for the district, which is happening between tomorrow and Saturday.
I remember, I just go back to maybe when I was younger, and I would often accompany my father to Rotary meetings. We wait for him in the vehicle. Rotary meetings in Nigeria, and I remember very clearly 9110 was the number for Nigeria in that area. I remember that clearly. And most times I would ask myself, what exactly is going on here? It would seem like people in the particular professions come out and hang out for an evening or an afternoon, and then maybe they go off and they play golf or they go do something else. But then you realize later then what the objective really was, to help people out, to help the less fortunate in society and things like this. As you look at it today and what you will be doing now coming tomorrow, do you see that how Rotary has helped people in the past now is more glaring with the challenges the world has faced over the last 1.5 years?
Absolutely. And that district 9210 is still there, so it hasn't changed. And well done. I think if you're a child and you can still remember that, I'm asking why you're not a Rotarian. I think the first thing is about that piece of meeting weekly. So I think it's a habit. You can call it a ritual, but it is the habit of coming together to foster the ideal of service. And that's what we call the object of service. So people come in and acquaintance as an opportunity for services where you can do service alone. But when you come in 2 and 3, 4 of us together and start trying to promote that opportunity and that ideal of service, I think that's the first thing of why people would meet every week. And when they do that, then it's also ensuring you promote ethical standards, dignifying each profession as an opportunity to serve. We also apply the ideal of service in personal, business, and community life. And of course, advancing the understanding and networking across the piece. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, there was a speaker who said that weekly meeting as a speaker, people look for a topical area where they focus on. They speak to that. And like in the last 1 year, we were challenged beyond our imagination by COVID. And members started meeting online through Zoom, through other avenues of digital networking. And that has ensured that we do not drop the service to humanity. If you come specifically home, if you look at some of the disadvantaged communities in the low-income settlement areas, we went ahead and started promoting the ideal of providing hand washing stations. We provided food for those who are adversely affected by COVID, and we started working with them because, again, service, every opportunity of service presents us every moment we work. So weekly meetings for the clubs, but now in the next 2 days, we'll come together and as a district, just look at the year that has been. So our district governor will talk about what are some of the challenges we did, how did we manage that or deal with it? What is our focus going forward? This year is about Rotary opens opportunities. Next year we are saying service to change lives. I think for me it is that spirit that goes on and on. But the most important thing is service to humanity beyond self. Service above self.
And how is this funded? I think there's also the perception that, there is a sponsor pot somewhere for Rotary, Rotaract around the world. Even here, how is this funded to be able to help people out?
I said earlier on that these are business and professional leaders or people of goodwill will come in and they'll say, let's fund any. If you give $10, for instance, and that's what we do every year, we have every Rotarian every year that comes in and gives at least $10, that when we bring it together, we can do something of scale and impact. So it is us as Rotarians who come in, self-deny, but also even call upon other people of goodwill to pull together, and we identify a project and we fund it ourselves. But also the good thing is that when we make that every Rotarian every year contribution, that money is pulled together, and Rotary International then can partner or can sponsor some of the district projects. We can also partner with other clubs elsewhere in the world. I'll give you an example. We had one in the Faroes in the desert, where the Rotary Club of Mupaiga partnered with a club in Israel to provide water irrigation and the drip irrigation for communities in Turkana. And if you see how lives have been transformed, you discover actually a small $1, $10 can have such impact, especially when pulled together.
Actually, now that you speak of that, what are some of the bigger or more impactful programs that you've handled in the last, let's say, 2 years?
I think the big one that comes to mind is the COVID-19 response. And the Rotary District 9212 partnered with dozens of other organizations in the initiative, including the National Business Compact Coalition, Shining Hope for Communities, what we call SHOFCO, the Kenya Red Cross. And in there, we try to do anything possible to bring, some bit of normalcy in people's lives. We bought and distributed hand washing stations for informal settlement. We also partnered to provide personal protective equipment and other resources for frontline medical staff. And our people are actually out there also trying to provide food, other essential supplies to low-income earners whose livelihoods were affected by the pandemic. Again, you don't have to look far. Wherever you are, there is an opportunity for you to do something. So that was one big one. I remember I went with 2 hand washing stations to a police station. And partly because not even the police officers, but anybody visiting there will need to wash their hands. Small gestures, but they have an impact in the society that we are. I think the other one that we've done is Rotary District 9212 has held annual Sunshine Rally. And the Sunshine Rally is for kids, and we have thousands of children who come, differently abled children with autism, people with disability, children with disability. And we normally go to Jamhuri National Park, the showground, and we just provide fun. We bring artists, we cook for them. In fact, there is something we call spinning chapati, and you'll find a whole, maybe 3,000 chapatis. But we bring them to have, and that's one of the bits where we try to bring communities in a way that it shows that everybody, leave no one behind, I think is what I'll say. And then the final one, and perhaps the biggest for me, is our role in fighting polio. And in a while, I think if you look back, we have 1.2 million members. But if you look at where we started, when Rotary and its partners formed the Global Polio Eradication Initiative in 1988, and Rotary was actually at the forefront, there were about 350,000 cases of polio in 125 countries every year. Today, that has been reduced by about 99.9%, and only 2 countries continue to report cases of wild polio virus, which is Afghanistan and Pakistan. Africa got the certification that we don't have any active polio. I think it's something that is understated. While WHO, the governments do that, Rotary was actually one of the partners of ensuring that we reduce polio cases, eradicate polio on the face of the earth.
When one talks about Rotary, one thinks of other such organizations that actually do the not good, excellent work that you do. Let me ask this question. When it comes to discussions around debt management, discussions around proper utilization of funds that we have within the country, does Rotary get involved in such things?
Great question. Let me speak about the 7 areas that we focus on, and I'll purely just highlight them so you find actually Rotary touches anything. And as I said, Rotary is about you and I. So you can actually be a Rotarian after this call. We look at peace and conflict prevention.
I see you're making an altar call.
Yeah. It's about disease prevention and treatment. So I talked about the COVID piece. It's water and sanitation. It's helping those who may not have access. So if you look at the boreholes that Rotarians have done across the country, across the district, phenomenal. Maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, economic empowerment. So we play in there in the sense that I said we are non-political, we are non-religious, but in one way or the other, we do add to the voice of how do we provide economic empowerment. And the other one, which has come in and with partnership with the UN or UNEP, is environmental conservation. So cleaning Nairobi River is one of the initiatives they're doing. Planting trees is something now we are actively doing. In fact, were it not for the COVID situation, we had plans to go and plant indigenous trees in Olpejeta conservancy in Laikipia. So the conversation is about humanity, and it touches every facet of that without being political.
Without being political.
I would have thought, Mr. Kasimu, that in a country like ours, the issue of debt management, the rationalization of utilization of the resources that we have would be fundamental to the well-being of the people. So if you are part and parcel
at national level or at personal level?
It doesn't really matter which level you take it at, because the thing that I am seeking to ask touches our lives to the very core. Now, if you're an organization that says and has been seen to do and does the things that they do, surely such a matter that really is at the heart of everything that we keep talking about, the disparities that make it possible for Rotary to do what they do, some of them would be lessened considerably if some discussions around some of these matters were not just talked about, but were brought into perspective. It is the reason why I asked the question. And as you say, Rotary has members from every walk of life. So surely among your members, there must be people who are finance experts and people who know exactly how this discussion should be framed. That is really why I asked the question. If I'm putting you on the spot, say so, and I will withdraw the question.
No. I think the ideal of service, I said, is about personal, business, and community life. And we actually, in the weekly sessions, we have people who have come in and talked about the whole piece of even how do you manage finance? What does it mean? What is the outlook, and how can you contribute one way or the other? So I would say, have we spoken about public debt specifically? No. But have we talked about prudent financial management, how you can influence, especially how do you eradicate the evils in society? We've talked about compliance and discipline, corruption, how do we deal with that? And most importantly, because Rotarians are also people of influence, how do you influence the areas that you operate in? And how can you extend that beyond just where you are? So I think when I say service above self and creating lasting change, sustainable change, we do that. And earlier on, we talked of how do we even instill some of the discipline in our young brothers and sisters. We have interactors. These are the children in schools before they go to the university. And we also teach them the ideals of service. How do you do good? How do you undertake some of these service beyond yourself projects? And then for those after the university or in university and just before 30, thereabout, we have the Rotaractors who are also coming to this event on tomorrow and Saturday. Our focus is not limited to any subject, but it talks about how you can do good and serve humanity without hesitation. I may have avoided your question, but I've answered your question.
I think there's still some bit of it that you can still delve into. Like you said, Paul, the Rotarians are people of influence. Now, look at yourself. You are Chief Human Resource Officer at Safaricom. You're an influencer of thousands of people within the organization and outside the organization. Your governor, Patrick Obath, is somebody who has worked in many organizations, is a chairman of various blue chip companies. So you guys are influencers. Are you able to influence your members, those especially who are in public service? Because you're talking about service beyond self. Then those who are in public service, Are they actually practicing this service beyond self, or do you see some members who are service inclusive of self, and you want to, bring them to the line of the Rotary organization?
The short answer to that is yes. And by the way, we have Rotarians from the public service. I used to work in the public service. But who says that society is a community of saints? So you will still find some people of goodwill, but the others will still have one or two bits. I think our belief is, especially when you foster the ideal of service, and that's what we teach across, is how do you provide ethical standards? How do you dignify each profession? If you're a policeman, and we have policemen who are Rotarians, how do you bring that to bear every day, everywhere? So I think it's the opportunity to serve. And you've seen, I saw a case of a police man, was it a man or a lady, policewoman, was carrying a kid for a mother who was doing her exam.
Yep.
And for me, that's what we do. And I think for me, when, and this is now a personal belief, is in the society we have a problem of looking at what is wrong instead of what is missing. And for us then is to say what is missing in society, which means don't throw the baby out with the bath water. Look at what is good and keep that, and then address what isn't. And of course, it's about mindset, it's about skill sets, it's about tool sets to enable people to be, to pay the rent of life in a good way. Because I think the belief we have is service is the rent you pay for being, for occupying planet Earth. So I think for me, that becomes then a philosophy. And if nothing else, this session that we're having, if it can also change you as you do your radio work, to do service and use every opportunity to serve humanity, then that for me is the ideal of being a Rotarian.
Thank you very much, Paul. So as we conclude this conversation, tell us about the 96th conference that's going to take place tomorrow and Saturday. Is it only open to members of the Rotary Club or this particular Rotary district, or can any other person join in?
Anybody can join. And there is a link that we'll be providing, or actually, if you go to the DCA, which is District Conference and Assembly, at 9212, you can easily find a link that takes you there. So Rotarians, non-Rotarians are welcome. Now, what is exciting? For the very first time, we are doing a virtual digital event, totally virtual. It's exciting, it is fun, there's entertainment, but it's also educative. So we've looked for an array of speakers and picked 4 topics that we'll be doing between tomorrow and Saturday. The first 3, which we are doing tomorrow, is one on sustainability. And the main speaker there is Paul Coleman, who is a former global CEO of Unilever. He's actually one of the authors of the Sustainable Development Goals, and a personal friend to our district governor, Patrick Obath, a personal friend to Kenya. I think that would be an exciting bit of how do you create sustainability? Because even a small thing like this conversation, how do you create this radio talk show to be a sustainable, or to create sustainability in the society? So that will be one. The second one will be speaking to disruption. And we have Professor Bitange Demo talking about disruption and what other person can talk about disruption. And somebody who has been in the digital world, where now work is no longer a place, it's a space. We're in the 4th industrial revolution. What does that mean? What are some of the skills you need to have to be future ready? Exciting stuff in there. The third one will be youth. And we have Mariam Abdullahi of Google, who will be talking about youth, opportunities, possibilities that exist. How do you harness youth as a resource, youth and leadership, anything you can think about for youth. In the evening tomorrow, we'll have one of the beverage producers doing sessions, virtual mixology, drink sessions, wine tasting, whiskey tasting, etc., from the comfort of your house, but doing it digitally. Following morning, we'll have the commander of the Air Force coming in to speak about discipline and compliance. So you can see again teaching some of the ideals of what does discipline do to you, and then we'll also have the DG talk about the year that was. And one thing that Rotary does that I have never seen in any other organization is every year there's a change of guard. So there is a chain handover from Patrick Obath, who is now the current district governor, to our district governor elect, who is Alex Nyaga, coming in now to take us for another 1 year. We'll also have all the presidents of the clubs, and we have about 150 clubs across the district, changing guard. So another exciting bit. And then the Rotaractors, we have what we call the district Rotaractor representative. We have a young lad called Kennedy Gaya heading over to a chap called Emmanuel as the next bit. Okay. So really change of guard, but it's also a place where I would say, especially for leaders, come and see how succession planning is done in action, but also having fun and yeah.
Paul Kasimu, thank you very much. Paul is the chairman of the 96th conference of the Rotary District 9212 that's going to be taking place tomorrow on Saturday. Asante sana for speaking to us. We will be logging in into this and to follow, especially that cocktail in the evening. I want to see how I can test this virtually.
No, thank you for having me. And have a good day.